Hello everyone, just coming live to you. We've made it back to good old Mackay after an awesome week away. So first and foremost, just want to say a huge shout out and huge thank you to everyone in Gladstone, Rockhampton, Mackay last night, and of course Early Beach today. It's been an awesome week, and it's been lovely to connect with you all. And it's been nice to kind of get back on the road. So, Nikki, nice to see you, Emily. Nice to see you as well. And of course, if you're online, say hello. It's always nice to see you as well. But yeah, so it's just always interesting because, just kind of been inspired to share this because I've actually received a couple of really beautiful emails from a couple of people who have signed up for the wait list looking at Empower, and I've also just some interesting takes on what's been happening in and around things as well. Tina Maria, nice to see you. Julie, nice to have you online as well. So yeah. Yes, Jeanette, it was lovely to see you again. Mackay, we had some lovely connections. I love that connection, especially with the young lady with the mental health, helping her. That was really lovely. Lucy, Emily Jane, Felicity, lovely to see you. Joanne, yeah, I am well. I'm very well, thank you. So heading home tomorrow, which is going to be great. So that's as much as I love doing the work, I love getting home too. So I think everybody can appreciate that one as well. So Sharon, nice to see you online. Jody from Gladstone, hello. So yeah, so Tasha's can't help it. Every time I see your name, Tasha, I just go, Tasha. I can't help it. It was lovely to connect up and obviously meet your partner as well. So that's good as well. Robin, Esther, nice to see you. Jeanette, yes, it was a beautiful, beautiful story. I love that story with her. It was very touching even for me. It was just so different, but I love that story. It was really, really powerful story. Even had the privilege of sharing a little bit of that story today at Early Beach today, which was great. Karen, nice to see you. So anyway, so this is great. So if anybody of you on here, if this title, even if you end up watching the replay, if this brings up anything for you, or if this, like in terms of like, it, don't be surprised. I'm going to go into, I know Tash and Aaron, Tash. Can't help myself, I love it. But yeah, the whole thing is, so just want to work through this. This is really important tips because I know a few people who are, like I say, I received a couple of emails about people who are really trying to find their spirituality or really trying to find that spiritual self and be confident in it. And I also know there's quite a few people who are aspiring, want to go out there and do healing work. I know they want to go out and like whether you want to be like psychic, even like tarot reading, or you want to be a medium, or whatever it may be. And this just may be some things here to help you. And this is a really big thing. Hi, Lynn from Gladstone. Deb, nice to have you as well. And Deb Withers from Sunshine Coast, lovely to have you. So yeah, so if this does bring up anything as I'm talking through this, so bear with me because I'm just going to talk through certain things because I've been doing this for a while and just want to help some of you because it's a daunting task to put yourself out there. It's even more daunting to go out there, do something that you enjoy and you love. So it can be a bit of a fear. It can be, and it's a journey. I'm not going to lie. It's a journey. So if it does pop up, and if I'm not live when I'm doing this, but if it pops up any questions, please ask. If it's a replay, please ask, because I'm a big thing for this. I really love trying to help people with this. I love people trying to help understand everything around this. Wherever I can. So if it does raise any questions for you, please feel free to ask, or feel free to send a private message if you want to, or email, and I'll help you the best that I can. So it's really, really interesting because when you're going to put yourself out there, the hardest thing is there's two steps. Number one, let's look at this in phases. Number one is coming to understand your spirituality. even recognizing that you are going to be like really follow a bit more of a spiritual belief, which means you're not going to necessarily call, you're not going down the religious path in terms of either direct dogma or doctrination of like Catholicism or, Anglicanism or Protestantism, all that kind of stuff. Spiritualism is more about like you have a bit more of a free belief, knowing that there is something greater than yourself, and connecting with energy, and you might even go to the point of, yes, I can connect to see spirits. That can be a very, very challenging process for the people around you. All right. And if this resonates with you at any point, please feel free to shout out and say, I understand, Pete, or, So what happens is as you start to find yourself and you're starting to get comfortable with your beliefs in and around this, it can get very challenging for the people around you, especially the people that have known you for a long time. A lot of them are family and sometimes close friends. And as you really start to find this belief, what happens is, and I know exactly what it's like. I went through it all those years ago. And, when you find that belief or that connection, you really just want to share it with people. You really just want to talk about it. It just wants to be an everyday thing. But a lot of the people close to you may not share the same value. And you know what? This is the hard part. This is really, really hard. What I'm going to talk to you about tonight is going to be hard because, it doesn't matter how long you're going to do this for, whether you decide to really follow this path or not. These are things that you're going to encounter. I'm going to lay some things out for you. I'm just going to be absolutely honest with you, right? So yeah, Melissa, you've been through this as well. Yeah, it's a tricky one. So a lot of people around you will not understand it. A lot of people may start to actually almost denounce you. They may even want to attack you to a certain degree because you are challenging their beliefs. And when they get challenged, that's when they kind of get triggered and they kind of, want to lash out because they don't understand and they want just you to work at their level. This is where it's really tricky, but this is where it's also super important because you have to come to a space where you're happy with yourself, and you have to learn that you have to embrace your belief, and the right people around you will accept you for your belief. That's a key thing. They will really accept you for your belief. And once you realize that, you actually invite beautiful people in to your life because they'll be sharing a similar journey, they'll have the same kind of beliefs, and you're going to be surrounded by more supportive people. Now, the other thing too is I tend to find this, like a lot of people who are spiritual, we tend to have that for ourselves, but I tend to find, like, especially myself, like I'm spiritual, but I don't go around spruiking the whole thing unless I'm at an event, because obviously you're there and connect with it. But in an everyday space, I'm not spruiking spirituality. I'm not going out there, oh my God, did you see, like, oh, your grandfather's around you? Or like, I'm not getting into that. I literally am just me, and I respect the person in front of me, and I respect their beliefs as well. And so that's a big thing. So I tend to find a lot of people who follow spiritualism or have a spiritual connection are more like that. Not all of them, but I said most of them. Hey, Kat. Hey, Ren. Nice to see you. Eva. Yep. So it's really interesting in that way. So you have to find that courage within yourself first. And that may take time. It all takes time. I hate to say there is no quick fix for this. There's no fast way to do this. You have to take your time with this. The hardest part is that as you do grow in that wonderful confidence and belief within yourself, you are going to lose people around you. That's just the way it's going to happen, because you can't connect and please everyone. You just can't. The other thing too is what's most important is that you need to really honor yourself and be yourself with this. By you pushing this down and squashing your belief just to keep the peace or just to keep a friendship or a relationship, you have to ask yourself, is that person really respecting you and wanting to understand you? This is a beautiful thing. Being a good friend or a good, family member doesn't mean you always have to agree on everything. It just means that you respect each other's opinions and beliefs. That's a key thing. And if they don't have that, then you have to ask yourself, what are you doing it for? That's something that you've got to hold dear to yourself. And I really, really encourage you all to look at that. You've got to feel it in here. And if they're not seeing how much this means to you or how much you value this, then you need to call that into question and really put that under a very healthy kind of microscope and to examine it and ask yourself, and that's mean try to work through it, absolutely. But it comes to a point where if you just can't see it, or this becomes your spiritual belief, becomes a bit of a deal breaker for your relationship or friendship, well, then you have to examine that. Because, I always believe that really wonderful, good people, regardless of their own opinions and beliefs, will still value and respect others. I'm very lucky. I got that lesson very early in life, and I still have the privilege of the person that gave that to me. I actually have the privilege of still calling my best mate today. And it's a big thing. Absolutely, Deb, be the authentic you. You have to honor this. But I love it because one of my best mates, and still one of my best mates, is doesn't necessarily believe in what I do. And he just simply said, Pete, I know what you work, I'll listen to you, but just don't expect a lot of conversation coming your way. And I love that. And that's me. I can actually smile and laugh about it because I see his face every time. And we have that comment. Every time I think about it, I see his face. He's like, I'm just telling you. And I love that. And that's what a good person sees in you. That's what a good person, because they can see it means something to you. And it's not like I'm there trying to convert him into spiritualism and saying, you know what, you need to come off and become a psychic medium, tarot or healer. It's just that I believe in this and I connect with this. And that's what should happen. Beautiful people and the right people in your life will have that with you. They don't have to always agree with you, and that's really important. All right. Kat, I love that. I'm happy that this is resonating with you, and it's a big one. Now, so here's another tip. All right, so that's the journey of getting into spirituality itself. That's a huge one, and that's why a few people are struggling with that. That's why I wanted to address that one first, because, that's just your first step. Here comes the next step, because I love it, because so many of you have the best intentions of wanting to go out there and help people in the world, whether it be being through healing, or you might even want to help animals through healing, which I know one of my members, which I'm so excited for. I see them kind of going off and doing their thing at the moment, and it makes me so friggin' happy to see that happen, and I love that. So you can be helping animals, you can be helping people, but you know what? A lot of people who come into this, we are genuine people who want to help, okay? And you can kind of see that from a mile away. But here's the thing. Again, as much as you start to build that confidence within yourself and that belief in what you do, you've got to be very mindful of approaching and going out into the public eye and doing this work. It is not for everyone. It's not. Your spirituality and your beliefs and your connections and abilities are for yourself first and foremost, to help you live, right? That's right, Helen. I love that you're here because you can see where I'll be going with this. But the whole thing is, you've got to be mindful of where you're going with this. It's not for everyone, but your abilities, your connections are there for yourself first and foremost. They really, really are. If you feel like it is, and if it is part of your soul contract, then absolutely you can go further with that. Now, that might be, you're just doing clients on the side for yourself. Perhaps, you're going to be wanting to make it a little business for yourself. And that's awesome. I really encourage that if you do. Because, hey, look, I love the fact, and I think there's so many wonderful healers and readers out there that you're just holding yourself back. And I encourage you to give it a go. But here's the thing. When you're stepping out there in that door, there's a few things that we need to address. Number one, not everyone is going to agree with you. As another very dear friend of mine, and who's also a wonderful work colleague of mine, is that, as she would say, you need to develop your Teflon. You need to become that non-stick pan where nothing sticks to you. Now, the thing is here, again, that will take time. When you start to do this work publicly, you are going to open yourself, and you make the choice to open yourself up to opinions, criticisms, judgments, right? You will. That's just the nature of the beast, especially when we're on platforms like this one, right? You can't avoid it. It takes a while, but the whole thing is you have to be prepared to face it. A beautiful way that another mentor of mine says, well, if you're actually copying criticism, that means you're actually getting somewhere and you're doing something right. So there's always an interesting way of looking at it as well. Okay? So you're going to have to be prepared to do that. You're going to have to be prepared to take some criticism. That's a big one. It will happen. You'll have to learn not to take things to heart. You'll have to know yourself and know your craft and know what you're really worth doing. Okay? Absolutely, Kat. It's like putting yourself in the fire line. We don't intentionally mean to do that, but the whole thing is when you're out there and you're working with people and the public, not everyone's going to be happy. Right? Let's face it. Like, we've all been there. We've stood in line behind someone, or we've been eating in a restaurant and someone beside us is like, "Oh my God, this is terrible." Or the service is like it's just so hard to make people happy these days, right? And that's okay. And sometimes these criticisms and whatever else and feedback is actually very justified. Absolutely, right? And the good thing about good feedback, like good quality, positive feedback, and even with a bit of criticism in there, with a positive criticism, we can develop and we can become better. So you have to be willing to take that on. However, definitely know where Key thing here is when you're dealing with feedback of any kind, you have to honestly check in with yourself and go, what is mine and what is not mine? Right? Because quite often in levels of feedback, people get triggered by certain things. Okay? Now, the other thing too here is, as you continue on this journey and you want to build yourself up on this journey of, whether you want to make it into a business or you just wanted to kind of develop your own abilities, whatever else. The other key thing is you need to be so mindful, right? So mindful of who you surround yourself with and the material that you are absorbing and putting in between these two lovely ears of yours. Okay? That is going to be paramount for your connections and abilities, right? If you are filling up this here with crap, negative crap, you are going to receive negative crap, you are going to see negative crap, you are going to deliver negative crap and absolute rubbish. The other thing too is, if this is full of crap, the people you are attracting is also going to start to be of a very low value. The people who you surround yourself are a reflection of who you are. Really, really is. So now start to look at it. Why do you think at the beginning of your journey, like I talked about, you may have to lose some people? Because you need to have the right people on your journey. They need to be people who are going to build you up. They're going to be the people who actually will be willing to call you out when things are not quite right, but in a positive way. That's what's also going to be key. Now, here's the other thing too is, and this is huge, and I cannot stress this one enough, is that when you go out to do this work, you are going to learn from other people. That's just part of the process. That's great. But again, be mindful of who you're learning from, because they're going to have an impact on you. They're going to have an impact on you, your ability, your beliefs, and your confidence. So make sure you choose wisely. If at any point you're learning from someone and you don't like or get a feeling from them, just move away. Nothing's bad said or done. Just move away. Know what's right for it as well. So that's a really important thing too. But here's the other thing too, is it doesn't matter how much you learn from someone or how much you see someone or see other people do certain things. I encourage every single one of you that wants to go out and do something with your abilities to go out and be yourself with your abilities. You are not here to make everyone happy. You are not here to win a popularity contest. You are not here doing this work just for yourself. You are here being of service of spirit and for the people. You have to learn to remove yourself from that situation. It is a beautiful thing when you can start to do this. Your Teflon, that lovely thick skin of yours, will really start to grow in a very positive way, in a big, big sense. Until you can, until you start to do that, you will struggle. Because the thing that's going to get in your way is right here. It's going to be you. It's going to be what we call the little you, the little voice that wants to be perfect, the little voice that wants to be right, the little voice that says, I need to be liked by everyone. The little voice that says, oh my God, I need at least like 1,500 people watching my lives before I'll do one. Whatever it may be, that's not the case. You need to move that voice on. You need to find the bigger part of you. You need to connect to the greater part of yourself that connects to the greater universe and can bring that through and can help this world. That's what got you started on this journey in the first place. So don't forget this. But it's really, really, really important that you understand these things because they matter. Note that it doesn't matter how long you are going to do this. These things are always going to pop up in your life, on your path, on your journey, and especially on your spiritual journey. The more it pops up and how you deal with it is a complete and utter reflection of you. Nothing else. It is a little lesson. It's a little chance to look in the mirror and go, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to look at this? It's so, so important. Okay? Now, the next thing that I need to talk to you about, I'm really sorry for the lecture, but I'm hoping this will help you. If you are going to connect with your clients, which it doesn't matter what modality you are going to do, any of those ones that I kind of mentioned in the title there, you are going to be connecting with your clients and you are going to be in some shape or form helping your clients. And what happens here is when a client comes to see you, or it could be one-on-one, or for example, over this past week, I have multiple people, hundreds of people coming to see me. It doesn't matter. The whole thing is those people are going to come in and they are going to really be open and hand a big part of their power over to you. That's a huge level of trust. Huge. Massive amount of trust that they're giving you. You need to respect that. But the whole thing is when you are working with them, and especially talking with them, you have to remove yourself from the situation. Because you are here for your client or clients. When you do this work, you are there for them. And at the time that you do this, you have to understand that you will come across clients that are going to challenge you. You're going to come across clients who are really going through some tough stuff. You're going to come across clients who have been dealing with things for years, and all of a sudden now, in this beautiful space that you're going to hold for them, they feel like they can bring it up. It will challenge you. You may kind of go, how am I supposed to deal with this? But remember, If it's coming up in front of you, Spirit is saying you're ready to handle this. But as you do and you're not sure, and I can tell you right now, from that first immediate moment that you start to feel challenged, hold the space for your client. You have no idea what they're going through or what they've been through. It is so important for you to sit and actually listen to your client. Stay with them. Hold the space for your client. Because if you do and you really listen, and it's actually called active listening, the whole point is that when you do, you will hear things differently. Then you'll start to see things differently. And then the way that you're coming through to help them and the information, messages, and energy that is going to come through will come through differently. Because it doesn't become about you, it becomes about your client. We have to remove ourselves from the situation. We have to remove ourselves. You can't judge your client. You can't even form an opinion. You honestly have no idea what they've been through. And you need to respect they're in front of you because they believe you can help in some shape or form. That's a beautiful trust. Don't betray that trust. But here's the other thing. I got a wonderful lesson at the very beginning of my journey back when I was 13. And it's one I've never forgotten. If you start a connection, if you start helping someone, finish it. Finish the connection. See it through. Because if you don't, you're only going to leave things harder than what they were. It is your responsibility and your job to see it through. And if you feel like you can't quite, well then it's your duty to make sure you refer them on to help finish the journey. It's so, so important. And when it comes to this, remember that it is you will pass on anything to your client. You need to leave your client feeling more empowered, more knowledgeable, feeling uplifted, and feeling better by the time they walk out from when they walked in. If you can do that, you are doing a good job and your intentions are pure and you're working within the integrity. And that's all anybody can ask. And the other big thing too is make sure you never judge yourself about what you do. The value of what we do can only ever be valued by the client that you're helping. It is up to them to decide whether the information or the healing or whatever you pass on or give is of value. This is so, so important, right? Because when you do this, you remove yourself from the situation. You make a better spiritual person because that's what spiritual people do. We realize it's not about us. We're here to help. We're here to give in some shape or form. But not at the expense of yourself. And definitely not here, and not at the expense of others either. You've got to know yourself, you've got to know your limits, and you've also got to know when you need to reflect on things, when you need to improve on things, but you also need to know when you push through things. And you also need to know when to stand up for yourself during certain situations. And a big part of that is because you are going to cop it left, right, and center. I hate to say it. I'm not going to sugarcoat this shit for you. You are going to get called names. You're going to get accused of some crappy stuff. If you can avoid it, awesome. And I really hope you can. But the more that you want this and the more you want to put yourself out there, the more you're going to get. Remember, you have options. You have options when this comes about. Your first option, if someone wants to have something to say, you've got to look at it going, if it's absolutely cynical, like you can read a comment or you see whatever's kind of message or a DM or whatever, and it's just cynical, which means like you can see, like you'll know there is no point even starting a conversation with that person because they have no idea what they're talking about. They're completely blinded and shut off and they don't want to hear anything. There's a beautiful option. It's called block and delete, people. And you are absolutely allowed to do that. It is a wonderful tool. So never forget, block and delete. Don't even bother. Do not waste your time or energy on people who are not even going to listen to you. The other thing too is not everyone's going to agree with you. That's the beautiful part about spiritualism. We do not have a Bible or a book or doctrination that spits us all into one box. That's why so many of us in this day and age are attracted to it, because we're allowed to express our individual ideas and beliefs around what we're feeling, seeing, and working with. This is such a beautiful part of the process. But this is so someone might come, they might challenge your beliefs. And if they challenge your beliefs and they're willing to have a great open and constructive conversation, go for it. You will learn something. I love it when I can have that. But that also means, again, just be mindful. Just because you're both spiritual people doesn't mean you're going to get along and be best of friends. Right? The big thing here will be that you have to also learn with other spiritual people that you may have to agree to disagree. That's going to happen. It will. Let it happen. Right? But then, of course, there are some times where it just, that you need to speak about this, or you need to do about this, or you need to come up, right? And that's what's important too. When something pops up. But you need to know yourself. You need to know yourself. You need to be able to connect with yourself. And you need to know when it's important to face the conversation. You also know it's important to know when to walk away from the conversation. So, after all of this, find yourself, develop yourself, surround yourself with the right people, but most importantly, know yourself and work with yourself, knowing that you, in yourself, with your beautiful, authentic individuality and your channel and your abilities, will attract the right people to you. You're not here for popularity. You're not here for it. You are here to help and heal. Hold that space for your clients. Be there for your clients. And most of all, don't judge the work of others. If you judge the work of others, you are only judging yourself. And most importantly, if you ever feel like you need to call someone out on their work, that's great. But the whole thing is, it speaks more about the person who needs to call it out rather than the person actually doing it. Believe in yourself. Do it for yourself. Learn to work with it. Learn to take the hits, but learn to get back up again, because that's the only true way you are going to develop and get better. And if you want this, you're going to have to go out and get it. It's a big, big thing. You will know yourself. And when people start to wanting to throw things at you, try to take you down, try to knock you off what they say is your perch, that just means you're doing something right. It really does. It's the weirdest thing, right? When people start like noticing you in a negative sense, it's because they're looking at you going, why do you get to do this and I'm not? Okay? It's usually because of their own inhibitions and own lack of self-belief and confidence that holds them back. So it's really important. Work from integrity, be ethical, and you will be completely okay. And that's all I ever wish for all of you that are inspiring to do this. Be careful who you surround yourself with. Be mindful of who you're learning from. And if they don't resonate with you, just leave them alone. Walk away. And if you find people who do, fantastic. Find your tribe. Find the people who are going to support you. This journey is too important. This is too important for you. So if you're listening to this and this resonates with you, start taking this down, because these are the biggest lessons I've learned. It's so important, right? And you're not gonna, people will have their thoughts. Let them have it, right? And the whole thing is, it's amazing what people will associate with the work that you're doing. You got to remember, being spiritual does not mean you're above being human. Being spiritual means you can relate to more people than others, in my opinion. You will connect with them more. You can empathize with them more. And that's a beautiful thing. But it's when you start to use your abilities and gifts and you got to be mindful. That's that little me coming back out to play, going, it's about me and it's about the popularity contest. So be mindful how you work. Be mindful of who's around you. Be there. Cool, Sarah. Love it. Jennifer, I know that it sounds like I saw your comment. I know this is new for you, but it's great. I'm happy that it's resonated. There's obviously something true here tonight. Just the way that's me. That's universe working as magic, isn't it? But yeah. So, and I just really, really hope that this helps some of you, because it will happen. Doesn't matter how. I've been on the circuit now, like doing this work full time for 10 years, and just to let you know, even tonight in an event, someone has publicly declared me as opening demonic portals. And from one medium to another, apparently, and I should shut that shit down, and I shouldn't curse. It's amazing, isn't it? I'm like, when did cursing become related to demonics and whatever else? So it happens. But the whole thing is, I'm like, wow, that shows their thinking, not mine. Yeah, you cop it all the time, but this one was very, very different today. And I just needed to address it because it has come up in public. But I wanted to also, this is what I do. It has happened to me before. It's not going to be the last time it happens either, right? But the whole thing is, you can see here, I know the journey. I have walked this path. I am walking this path. I know who I am. I know how I help people. And I can guarantee you right now, and every single one of you, there's so many wonderful souls here who know and have come to an event of mine or come for a reading at some stage. Seriously. Yeah, sure. Demonic portals. Absolutely. If anything, probably the only demon that comes out when I work is called laughter and humor. And if that's my demon, you know what? I welcome it. I can't help it. That's me. So it's like a big one. It's a huge one, Jennifer. Absolutely. And that's me. So be mindful of who you surround yourself with. Be mindful of what you are putting up here, what you're watching, what you're feeling with. Always be open, learning new things. Absolutely. But just always be mindful of yourself and who's around there. Work at it. You have got this. I encourage every single one of you. The world needs more of you. Please do it. But be prepared. You have to develop your armor. You have to develop the armor, put some Teflon, spray it on, whatever you need to do. It's going to be rough and tough. But just know when you're working through it. Okay? It's a beautiful thing. Hope this has helped. Like I said, if you're watching the replay, I'm not here. If you've got any other questions, let us know. If anybody's got questions right now, I'm happy to hang around for another couple of minutes. But I just really wanted to kind of address that. It's really important tips because it does happen, because I know it's a shit cycle sometimes to try and find your spiritual wings. coming out of that little chrysalis and growing from the caterpillar to that free spirit is a bitch of a journey at times for a lot of people. That's why, even for me, like in my book and all that time ago, like I described it as kind of coming out of the spiritual closet. I had to really admit to myself, I love spirituality. I love connecting with another side. I know there's more to this world. I love it. I love it so much. What do you think I do it? I love it. Deb, you need lots of bubble wrap. Well, just make sure you get a business account with Australia Post, then you might get a discount. It's one of those things. But yeah, it's just like, we need more of you. And that's you can't be afraid of this stuff. It can be, it's not so much the dark night of the souls. It's just, we've just got to be honest with ourselves. We've got to face ourselves and just step up. That's all it is. Tess Cameron, wish you could do what I do. Like, sometimes you might not wish it if you start connecting with it all the time. But the other thing too is you can do it. You just have to be open to it. You have to be ready to start the journey. It starts somewhere. We can all do it. We can all connect. The biggest connection is just connecting with yourself. That's where you start. Okay? It's a big one. You can start there as well. Oh, absolutely, Esther. Like, you can go and find this lovely comment on my wall if you'd like to. And you can see what it's all about. But, it's interesting just to let you know that the person who has actually decided to do this and, use my name and did publicly denounce me, which is fine, has talked about a connection that they walked halfway out and actually didn't see the finishing of. This person also took the liberty of judging the recipient. Now that to me speaks volumes of this person. You don't know what that person's gone through. You don't know what their life was like. You have no idea what their relationship was like. This is why you can't do this. You have to hold the space for the client in any shape or form. As soon as you start working with people, you hold the space for them and you finish that job. Work from that integrity. And that's the beautiful thing, is because I know by the end of that connection, the lovely person who received this connection, that was the one where I'm opening up demonic portals, ended up buying me a drink and saying thank you. And for that, I say thank you. Right? So that goes to show you, like, don't kind of judge things when you're half cooked. It's a big one. But that's me. So as you can see there, just in that, it's interesting. Like, I can be called out and judged for something that they don't know what the finishing product is, but the client or the recipient is the one who's giving me the thanks. That's what you've got to hang on to. That's the stuff that you got to look at. So this is why it's important to look at the people that you are working with, how you are helping them, and that genuine feedback coming from the recipient will tell you exactly where you are in line with your work. Really, really will. And it's a big one. So, yeah. Leanne Stegum, I know you're after some guidance, but we're just more talking about kind of like tips and guidance around stepping into this work in the spiritual realm or spiritual sense. So if it's around that, I'm more than happy to help you out or answer a question around that. It's just more, I'm just trying to stay on a topic. I'm known for my waffling and tangents, so I'm doing really well here. Let's just keep a good thing when it's happening. Tracy, I sent them out. They'll be jumping into a totally different thing. They're people who have lived multiple lifetimes and have ascended and kind of mastered the stuff. How do you know you're working with them? Well, ultimately, I'd like to think they're telling you, because you would know. And anybody who's working with an ascended master, to be honest with you, they would have to know, because that's how ascended masters let you know. It's not a case of someone letting you know. Like, I wouldn't say to you, for example, like, as an example, I wouldn't go to a client and say, oh, yeah, I believe, like, Saint Germain, the Ascended Master's working with you. In all the readings I've done, I haven't, I think I've had it once. And it was actually more confirmation and validation for the client rather than the other way around. It's those are deeper connections. When you're working with those particular kind of beings, you will have a deeper connection, a stronger connection with yourself, okay? How have you handled when you don't meet your client's expectations? Olive Graham, what a beautiful question. What an absolute beautiful, I love that question. That's the whole thing. You can only ever manage your clients' expectations. And so you have to manage them before they book in and before you start your session of any kind. But if they still have them, there's nothing you can do. The hardest part about with expectations will always destroy the session in itself. They are the things, they're the worst things, expectations. And just remember what expectations are. Expectations are placing an emotional outcome of what they're about to do. So they want something specific and they're attaching an emotional outcome. I want to be happy about this. I want to achieve this. It's like I need to get to this or I need to have this. I know in my work that I have to manage clients' expectations. Why do you think I take so long in my introductions and when I'm working with someone? Please be open to who you're going to get. When clients come to me and they only ever expect one person, boom, expectations are so high, all they're doing is setting themselves up for a failure. And you know what? That's also unfair on you as a practitioner. That's what you have to do your best to manage it. You can only ever manage it, doesn't mean you're going to eliminate it. But as long as you speak up and be upfront, then you are making them very well aware of how this is going to work. Okay? That's a huge thing. So always set it up. Always get in ahead of your client and help them to understand before they even book in. That's how you help. All you can do is manage it. If you can't meet it, that's on them. Because sometimes, when a client has an expectation where you're kind of going, I was never going to meet that, that's actually not your fault. You can't take that to the heart. It's hard not to. And you asking that question speaks volumes about you because you actually genuinely care. And I love that for you. I love the fact that you're even, it is a question that so many people have, and I'm glad that you asked it. But you just have to manage it and you say it up front, right? That's a big thing. That's why I always take the time. I'm very, very clear and I'm very this is how it's going to happen. Don't expect this. Don't expect one person. You've got to be open. I don't control that. Right? So that's the best way. Hopefully that helps you. Hopefully that helps you answer your question. Stephen, left your show with lots of gold nuggets. Didn't take a reading that came through, but still left empowered. I love that. Thanks, Stephen. I appreciate that. And that's what it's about. It's just being open, working with what you got, taking what you got. All right. So it's a beautiful thing. This is the thing. When you come to these things, Olive, give it a good go, right? And if you ever need any help with it, just reach out. Because it's a doozy, right? I've been doing the dance for long enough. I should be able to know a few steps here or there. I may still step on some people's toes, clearly, like I did today. But that's the fun, because you learn what people like and learn what people don't like. And the other thing too is you start to go, well, you know what? I like and I know who I am, and they're going to learn who they are. And it's a beautiful thing. And the other thing too is there, Olive, I want to point out for you, this is coming to me for you, so this is obviously going to be very important for you. Remember that you're not here to work with everyone. So by setting up and managing expectations of how you work and explaining that more and more, you are going to be attracting more and more people towards you and your energy and the way that you work. That's a beautiful thing. That's what you want. You want that vibration to come back and connect with it as well. Okay? So the big thing is that's where you want it to be. You want it to kind of connect and you want to bring in that attraction with your client. And that's what you can do. So that's the beautiful thing. So when you're doing that and you're working with your level of expectation, or you're working with where you are working with your frequency. And when you reach your frequency, then you'll have clients that will match yours. That's where the magic starts to happen. So that'll be good for you, right? So I'm just reading a message here. Or comment, I should say. That's okay. That's all good. Hey, Bonnie, I just read your message, and I've seen all that, and I've seen it all, and I've seen your live as well. Honestly, it doesn't bother me. It's completely fine. The whole thing is, I just feel really sad that you missed the healing. And that's me. You don't have to like my style. That's fine. That's cool. Olive, hopefully that does help you. Okay, it's a big one. And hopefully if I can fast forward and get through some of the lessons I've learned the hard way, and I can give you a bit of a cheat sheet or a bit of a shortcut on that, I'll help you with that as well. So that's a big thing. So yeah, cool. Beautiful. Any other quick questions around this topic? I guess we as connectors have our own way. Mine is more respectful to the afterlife. Look, and that's your opinion of yourself. That's completely fine. And we all have our way to connect. The interesting part is I still like to be as real as possible because I deal with the people and the public on an everyday basis. And the beautiful thing is I just like to cut through the tenseness and I like to keep it as real as possible. And that's just my style. And the whole thing is that's the way it is. And I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. That's completely fine. And I like to keep it fun. So that's what I do. If you don't see it as fun, that's fine. But a lot of people do because there tends to be a lot of laughter in the room. So that tells me something's, connecting for me. So that's all. I work with the people. Jennifer, advice for a beginner. Big question. A little open-ended. I was like, where do I start with that? Hopefully, I'll go back and I'll just, probably for all of it, this one's actually will help you in a very generic way, okay? So hopefully that will help you. And if you didn't catch the very beginning of this, there might be just a little bit of a couple of gold nuggets at the beginning of this one for you as well, okay? So it's a really, really kind of big thing. Thank you, Susan. I continue, Will. You know me. I can't be anyone but me. And that's the biggest thing. I love to be me. I love to be Pete. I love to be Pete in the flesh. But of course, when I connect with your loved ones and I connect with spirit, most of you absolutely know that I do it with the utmost respect. Otherwise, I would not be doing it at all. So it's a big thing. Thanks, Monty. Oh, look, and Monty, you did amazing and connecting on the cruise as well. So and kind of working with it's great. Well, that's the other thing too, Karen. And this is interesting too. I remember, and I'll just point this out since it's come out because Karen, you're talking about it, right? I've actually had this. There's 2 instances about this. Okay, it's a big one because 2 things. Number 1, I've actually had clients say to me, I actually connected with their loved one, described them, took them through all the usual stuff, physical description, how they passed, other little memories, dates and all that kind of stuff. And I remember very clearly that they're going, that sounds like them. And there was this lovely little sense of hesitation. And then I was like, because it was a male that was coming through especially, it was like, I remember he bounced through and he was a trooper and he had a mouth on him. And he was there, he goes, look, I'm surprised this effing thing works. I'm effing here in front of you. This is awesome. And as soon as I did that, they go, that's him. Now we know you've got him because he would not be speaking without a few of those in between. And that's been it. And I love it. It was just so like, oh my goodness, I was so afraid to kind of let loose like that. But that was his personality. But as soon as I did, the families, there was 5 of them, their absolute eyes lit up. And it was just like they go, that is him to a T. And that was the beautiful thing because that was me melding and blending with the spirit beautifully to bring through that level of personality and actually articulate the words and the way he would stand through. And it's interesting, they didn't believe it was like they were on the cusp that they didn't believe it until I actually said the F word because that's who they were in this life, right? So that's kind of interesting. I've had to face that battle, right? But the other thing too is if you ever come to a live event or you've seen a live event, here's a tip and here's a little hint. It's really interesting. I have learnt to be more relaxed because everybody who comes to one of these events, everybody seems to be so uptight because everybody's got like so much grief and there's so much expectation. And they're like, I don't know. Is this guy the real deal? I don't know. Have you heard of him? I haven't heard of him. Have you heard of him? Of course you haven't. I don't have my own friggin' TV show. I haven't been on Oprah. So I'm not expecting you to have heard of me, right? So the whole thing is, it's like everybody comes in with all these kind of weird and wonderful ideas of what the day is going to be like. So the best way, and then it's like as we start, there's this build up and anticipation of energy. And then as soon as I go, well, you know what? What happens if your poor old Uncle Jack comes through? Uncle Jack, oh, what the F's he doing here? Everybody just relaxes. It drops. Yes, there's a few people in the audience that might kind of go, oh my God, he's swearing? Oh, that's so unspiritual, right? And that's fine. But the whole thing is, what you'll notice though, is it cuts through all the tenseness. It just drops the expectations. And the other thing too is it lets people get out of their own head and actually start listening to what's going to happen. Now, the other beautiful thing is, because I've never forgotten this, because I did this the first time I actually let the lovely F words rip in my introduction, was at the Sunshine Coast. And there was 330 people. It was a sellout. It was massive. And there was a beautiful, beautiful couple, and they were about 65. And I had a wonderful, wonderful chat with them after the event. And we were standing around chatting for so long, the theatre people said, can you just step outside the doors because we're going to lock up? So we stepped outside the doors, and they had another half an hour to lock up. They switched all the lights off. We were still talking. We were talking for like a good 90 minutes, and we're like, oh, we're in the dark. We kept going. We didn't care. It was such a beautiful thing. And just talking about spirituality, and it's like they were actually founded a few spiritual churches back in the 70s, which I think is amazing. And we're having a great conversation. They said, oh, look, you know, Peter, that was the first time seeing you. And oh, man, that was just amazing. Like, what a wonderful night. The connections were beautiful. But they said, but just one thing. We just want to say one thing. And they said it like this. They were so nervous. They're like, oh, how's he going to do it? And I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, what is it? Oh, it's just the swearing. If you lose swearing, it would be wonderful. I smiled and I laughed, and not at them, I like with them. And I said, I appreciate what you're saying. And I hear what you're saying. I said, but let me explain it to you. And I'm going to explain this to you right now for all of you. And now when I tell you, you will notice and you'll look back and reflect and go, the only time I swear is in the introduction. If I swear after the introduction, it's because the Spirit wants me to. Now, many of you have seen me connect, how many times have you seen me swear? In here, when I'm actually trying to show you and help all of you, how many times have I actually cursed? Right? So it's really, really fascinating. If you actually look back at it, the only reason I do it is at the beginning. I like to cut through the tenseness. I like everybody to get comfortable, and I like everybody to drop their expectations. That's the purpose of it. It keeps it real. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I get that, but I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But it's a big one, right? So it's a huge thing. But if the Spirit wants me to bring it through, I'll bring it through. If you don't, you're not honoring them. My duty here is to honor the Spirit, okay? And that's the whole thing. Honor the energy in whatever shape or form is coming through for you. If you feel like it's going to be there, do it. Because you know what? It may just put a smile on your client's face. And that's priceless. And that's the whole thing. So, you know, that's to me giving that to the client and me honoring the Spirit and the personality that they truly were, if that means saying a few F words in a message or a connection, that to me is respect. Respect to the Spirit, respect to the loved ones, and honoring their memory and the person that they were. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Yeah, Andrew, it is. That's me. I'm down to earth. I'm not airy-fairy. I'm not here trying to preach anything that I don't know. I love my science. I love my science and I love my spirituality, and I bring the two together. I do not tolerate the fluff. I do not. I tell you what, I've sat in some meetings going, this is just waffle. It is. I'm like, and where's the juice here? Get to the chase. The other thing too is I've seen so many other connections where they can't. They'll kind of wrap it up very quickly because they're afraid of going too deep because they can't see it. When you get those deeper ones, those harder ones, suicide, domestic violence, drug abuse, mental health, you have to be strong. And you honor that, you know? That's me. So, that's me. That's a big thing. You'll know yourself, you'll know how you work, and that's what's important. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But I would, for any beginners, that's me. Surround yourself with the right people. Be mindful of who you're learning from. Find your way of working. Always remember, when you're learning from someone else, that's their style. All right. One of the biggest lessons I ever learned the hard way, so take it from me, is trying to make something work with your connection it was the way that someone else was using it. And I tried to take their model, or I tried to take their version of something, and I tried to apply it to myself, and I was waiting for this thing to work. I was trying to make this thing work, and I'm like, this ain't working. And then the whole time, then I've only realized they've actually been trying to show me how they're going to work with me. I was just so busy trying to make the other version fit that I was a bit silly not to see it, and I wasted a lot of time thinking I was getting down on myself that I'm not going to get to this ability, I'm not going to be able to learn this or whatever else. And it was actually happening the whole time, but I took someone else's version of a tool, put it over the top and trying to make it work, and that stuffed me up more than it actually helped me. So that's why it's always important to be individual. It's important to learn how you work, and that's a process, and that's a journey in itself. So don't give up on it. Okay. So just because something doesn't work, or that you've seen someone else do and it doesn't work for you, doesn't mean it's not working. You just got to figure out how it's going to work your way. That's a huge one. Ooh, Lisa Michelle. Was just talking about you before. Talking about the Teflon, my dear. The Teflon. But yeah. Any other quick questions? And then we'll kind of wrap it up, because I'm going to have to hit the bed early because I've got another 4-hour drive tomorrow, then flying home, and then a bit more of a drive. But it's been a bit awesome week. But anybody is stuck around, anybody who's been to the events this week, I just want to say a huge thank you. Honestly, it's been awesome to connect with you, and there's been some amazing connections. I have to say, like, the one last night here in Mackay, helping the lady with her mental health journey, like becoming a psychologist for men, that was huge. I felt that was so, I don't know what the word for that, it just really touched me, and I love it. And I love it when it works like that. So you just never know. Like, honestly, find the good stuff that works in your life. Find the good stuff that works within your abilities, and you're using them. They are there. You need to focus on them, because it's your choice. You can either focus on the good stuff, or you can focus on the bad stuff, right? Yeah, Sam, Kansas around the corner. Ooh. So it's a big thing. Jade, Christian, like, I don't right now, because I have been working all week, and I have already spoken to about 50 spirits this week. And now it is my downtime. So, not being disrespectful, but I'm just honoring myself, and I just came on here. I wanted to help you, give you some really important hints and tips on how to do it. Okay. And I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, so I'll be seeing you, North Queensland, Townsville, Cairns. I'll be seeing you soon. Okay. And of course, our lovely Inner Power members, good old Inner Power. We've got our conference coming up. Oh, it's going to be a fun one. Can't wait. But it's going to be great. But again, thanks, Jessica. It was lovely. Thanks for coming along. We had some amazing ones. Oh my God, that coal mine one in Gladstone, that was another doozy. Big one there as well. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, everyone. Hopefully it's helping. And, of course, if you need any other questions or whatever else, feel free to DM, send a private message, email, peterwilliamsinnerpower.com. You want to drop a contact form in there, you can reach out to us there if you don't have our email. Okay, so, and, just reach out. Biggest thing. Yes, Eva, we'll see you there. Can't wait. Be great times. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Okay, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye.